Alessio Angelucci, 2019 CFA Regionals
Champion.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on.
No worries.
Are you on a high after the weekend?
I actually am. I'm still a bit in a bit of shock at how much I enjoyed it, actually.
You look very happy.
Yeah. I'm stoked. I'm happy. I've been telling everyone all week, so it's like kind of a big achievement for me. It was good.
Yeah, mate, you crushed it. I was very impressed with with a lot of your results.
It felt a lot more comfortable than I've ever felt, and that was the big thing I took away from it. It was just like felt like I was finally in a bit of a zone sort of thing.
Yeah.
Found my own sort of rhythm and just stuck to it. Didn't think about anything else, just what I was doing.
It's fun to beat Matty forward, isn't it?
Yeah, that was good too.
Hey,
not that he trains that much anymore. It's like,
and he's getting old.
Far out. The guy's a weapon.
Yeah, it was a really good weekend. Hey, good to see people
awesome.
from the different gyms. Good to compete against everyone.
Yeah. I wish it could happen every weekend, but unfortunately,
that's not healthy.
You can't.
Do you want to do that row every weekend?
Definitely not healthy for the brain.
That row was epic.
The row was the best part for me for some reason. I finished it and I was like, something's going on here. I wasn't breathing hard. I was just like, fuck, something's going to hit me soon. 2 minutes later, my forearms just fucking blew up. And
good. You beat Hato by how much?
I think 0.2 of a second. That was the main goal. I heard Harry just going, hurry up. Hato's is right there. It was good.
And how many meters difference did you guys row? You had a bit more than him, didn't you?
A little bit. I think he was like 96 kilos. I was 98 kilos. So not that much. Not enough to...
4 meters.
Not enough to really bury him, but... It was
That's
good.
epic.
Yeah. Like I can't believe how well it worked out, the difference in weights. Like everyone was within 2 seconds of each other. It was crazy.
It was so much fun.
Yeah, it was good.
But I'm not doing that type of rowing again for another 2 years.
I had a weird strategy. I think I got a strategy from Harry and Mitchie in the Open during that wall ball. The second time I did the wall ball row workout, and they were like, just row with your arms for a while. And I was like, all right, sort of like a quarter into that row, I was like, I should just row with my arms for the first half. So I just rowed arms only, and then I managed to like sort of start to taper off, and then I was like, okay, now use my legs, get into it, and then just managed to keep it under like in that 1 minute 24 mark for that last 200 meters. It was fucking crazy.
124.
It was good.
That's mental.
Yeah.
I had no choice in the end. I think I had 200 meters left to go. I had no legs left, so it was all lower back, all arms, no choice.
I didn't want to end up doing that. I know I've done it too many times that I just end up shortening my stroke and just ripping it with my arms. I wanted to look comfortable, Yeah. I was in that sort of mind frame, and it sort of just worked. It was good.
Mad.
It was comfy.
Was that your favorite event of the weekend, or?
Favorite event would be the last event, definitely, like the wall ball unbroken workout. I was sort of umming and ahhing whether I was going to go unbroken or whether I was going to try and challenge myself. The fact that they moved the weight down from 32 to 24 was, in hindsight, a really, really good thing because we would have fucking burned if it was 32 kilos.
Yeah. Did you do it unbroken?
I did it unbroken. I had Harry in the back of my head just going, fucking just do it, dude. Come on, just go unbroken. It's called unbroken for a reason. And I was just like in a zone. It felt like definitely the most I've ever been in a zone in my life. Jogging between stations, just trying to sort of, I had Benny next to me and I was just trying to sort of bury him with my mentality. So I was kind of trying to hustle, just get from piece to piece. And eventually he sort of dropped off, which was nice. And then I was just in a rhythm, and it was nice. So for that reason, that was my favorite.
Yeah. Yeah. You are a bit of a competitor, aren't you?
A little bit. Yeah. In CrossFit, I feel competitive. I don't feel like I'm dominant yet. You know what I mean? I don't feel in my comfort zone. So that was nice to feel that difference. Yeah. In baseball, I've always been the dominant one, the one that can just do it naturally. And CrossFit, it's never felt very natural for me. So it was nice to.
Oh, you're a tall bugger for CrossFit. Yeah. I hate to break it to you, but I'm sure you heard it before.
Yeah, that's all right. There's no excuse.
You still did really well through the Open and everything. So you did mention baseball there, which is a perfect segue because I did want to talk to you a bit about your your background with baseball, some of the members at the gym might not know, but you have played baseball over in the States, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me, well, first of all, how did you discover baseball and that you were a talent at it?
I was playing soccer when I was about 12 to 16, and at the same time I was playing baseball, and soccer was my sort of love, and I wanted to go to England and play in the EPL and do all that sort of stuff, and slowly baseball, and I guess it was T-ball at the time, started to take my interest a little bit more each year, and then
on the beaches,
yeah. By the time, well, you play baseball out west, so it's not like there's a massive following on the beaches. It's still pretty good, but slowly it just started to take over, and I got better at baseball than I was at soccer, or maybe I was just a bit more passionate about it. It just had a little bit more to it. And then from when I was about 14 to 16, 18, I was not really making like top teams. I was just like chipping away. By the time I got to 18, didn't make any New South Wales teams, didn't make any Australian teams, and I was sort of just like pissed off. So I had this like deep drive in me to just prove people wrong, and by the time I got to 19, I ended up getting in front of a Chicago Cubs scout and a San Diego Padres scout out at Blacktown.
Wow.
And that was just before my Toolies year, so I went to schoolies the second year.
Okay.
So I went on a trial. I was just me and these two scouts, and I was just hitting a couple of throwing drills, like just trying to gauge where I was at. Did the trial the Friday, went to Toolies, had a great weekend, came back on the Monday with an offer from the Padres and the Cubs. So it was like, in hindsight, I kind of wish I knew I had that offer on the table, because I was just stressing out the whole weekend. But I ended up getting the offer from the bigger offer was from the Padres. I took it, and I was super excited. In hindsight as well, I wish I didn't really, because I kind of wish I went to college, sort of had that sort of segue into pro ball, rather than just throwing it in the deep end, not worrying about education, all that sort of stuff. So,
okay, I was going to ask that. So it wasn't a scholarship offer they gave you. It was just playing ball?
Yeah, it was just playing ball. So it was, normally you go, like a lot of guys from Australia will go to college, and they'll be like somewhere down south or something at like a whatever college they can get to. From there, they'll segue into pro ball by signing in the draft, right? And like, obviously out of the draft, you get a little bit more money if you're, I guess, in your second year. You'll probably get offered more money than a free agent from Australia would, right? Because you've got that experience. You've been in college ball, which is pretty much the same as pro ball, really. You've proved yourself. You're probably a lot better baseball player, and I think that I would have developed a lot better in college, but I wouldn't take it back for anything. I went over there when I was 19, came back when I was 23, went to Italy for 6 months, played in Italy, and I honestly just perfect, really. Apart from the fact that I didn't make the big leagues, it was probably the best experience of my life, really.
That's crazy. So you played 4.5 years overseas, baseball on a full pay.
If you can call it pay,
professional pay.
Yeah. That was my only income, and stupidly enough, I came back for the 6 months at a time, and I was just like, I would just train. I wouldn't work. I wouldn't like try and make a career or something, because I was so driven on trying to be the best. You know, it wasn't like, I didn't think that having a job was even an option. You know what I mean? I didn't want to go and work somewhere just because I didn't want to like even make myself think that was an option. Okay,
so do you mean that you only focused on playing baseball and you didn't build any other skills? Is that
like really? I should have probably got a job. I did do like a little bit of bar work here and there, but it wasn't for me. I was like turning up late to shifts. I got fired from Brookie Hotel. I was like just a useless person in that sense. Yeah. I just focused all my attention on the gym, and really my attention was on the gym. It wasn't really on baseball as much as it should have been.
And when you're saying at the gym, what do you mean by that? Like just doing baseball related stuff, or just?
It should have been more baseball related stuff, but it was also an obsession with just being as big as I possibly could be, or being as strong as I possibly could be, and constantly making myself better in that way. I would never from when I was 15 or 16, I was in the gym with Dad downstairs in the garage doing bicep curls, tricep extensions, bench press, all that sort of shit. And that sort of carried me over into my adult life, where I would literally be scared to take a day off because I was scared that I would be shrinking, or I would be like not as big, or like I'd go on holidays with Amy and like we'll always choose the location based on where the gyms were. So like,
would you say you had an unhealthy relationship with the gym?
Yeah. Essentially CrossFit is really what brought me out of that relationship, and being able to compete in that sort of gymmy sort of environment. You know what I mean? You don't, as a CrossFitter, you don't look in the mirror anymore and think you're a skinny little boy anymore. Like I obviously, like I joke to Harry all the time, like, oh, we didn't train yesterday, I look like a little girl. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not like, it doesn't consume me anymore.
Well, what you look like isn't as important, right? It's more how you perform.
No, this is what we look like is a byproduct of how good we've become at our sport, you know, and how much better we're getting at Olympic lifting, how much better we're getting at gymnastics, all that sort of stuff. You're never satisfied. So that takes your mind away from wanting to be like Arnold Schwarzenegger or Steve Cook or those bodybuilding guys. I look at them now and I'm like, I couldn't imagine myself sitting in front of the mirror doing bicep curls. Like, yeah, once a week I'll do bicep curls, but it's still, it's weird to me, you know. Now I couldn't go back to that at all.
Yeah. All right. So on the topic of CrossFit, tell me about your very first experience walking into, I believe you walked into Athletic at Monavale. Did you?
Yeah, walked into Athletic. Do you know something that I don't know?
Nah, but I want to hear it. Well, first of all, what made you walk in there?
Dan Lekev, you know Dan. He's,
do you know Dan?
For those of you that don't know, is essentially my brother-in-law. Not yet, but he's working on it.
Better be.
Yeah, for his own sake. He sort of just was like, dude, you should try CrossFit. My brother does it. I'm probably going to join. I was like, all right, fuck. I've been giving CrossFitters shit for pretty much the last 4 years of my life. I may as well give it a try. I used to see this CrossFitter down at Anytime Fitness, and he looked like a fucking horse. He was just this shredded monster. And I used to look at him and I'm like, that guy's on fucking steroids. There's no way he's not on steroids. And then I start, like, I guess from the first day, like, obviously it helped being at Mona Athletic. It was like awesome community. Sean was like well into the Olympic lifting sort of scene at the time. I saw like a direction for my life after baseball. So it was like straight away I latched onto it and I was like, fuck, I got to be good at this shit, because it was like the next thing for me. You know what I mean? It wasn't necessarily a thought like I was going to be Rich Froning or anything like that, but it was like, give me something to push myself, because I was going fucking crazy without baseball being the sole purpose of my life, you know?
You needed a competitive element in your life, you think?
Yeah, definitely. At first it was cool because it was not that competitive. I was still learning new shit, so it was just surprising how much I didn't know, and it was definitely humbling.
Did Dan beat you in anything in the beginning?
I'm not sure. I'm sure he did. I know that Sean, in our very first assessment, I remember thinking, like, I was like, this guy's a fucking dickhead. He's always telling me, he was telling me my back squat was bad. He was telling me like my front rack mobility. I guess because he knew the kind of person I was, with a normal person, he wouldn't probably do this. He would just like be a little bit softer, but he knew I was sort of up myself at the time. I was just like this big headed dude coming in here thinking I was going to kill it. And he was like, oh yeah, that overhead mobility's got to get better. Like, we might have to put some plates under your heels. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm not putting plates under my heels. And it was just like, it was nice. It was humbling. I learnt a shitload the first year, learnt so much to do with actual training, mobility, all that sort of stuff. It helped my coaching. It made me actually want to be a coach to begin with, because at the time I was just not really interested in doing anything. I was doing garage doors. But yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
It was good.
So you Well, wait a minute. You said you were doing garage doors. Were
Yeah.
you selling them or fixing them?
I was
or
fixing it. So my uncle.
just driving around the beaches fixing garage doors?
My uncle owns a garage door company.
Okay.
So when I got back from the US, I had nothing. I had really didn't have any education, didn't have anything to fall back on. So I was like, fuck, my uncle's offering me $40 an hour. I'll go there and make however much I need to in the week, and then just focus on my training and baseball and getting back there or something like that, you know?
Oh, so you were thinking about going back to baseball?
Yeah, always. I was still to this day, I think about it. I'm like, fuck, I'll just pick up a baseball and just start pitching again, and hopefully something happens. And I still miss it. I miss it like crazy, but
When's the last time you threw a ball?
Like a year ago. It's not. I can't even believe that I've come this far away from baseball. It's nuts. Before I would be obsessed. I'd be going out hitting. I would be in the off season. I'd be hitting in the cage. I'd be throwing with mates. I'd be calling up mates trying to get them to catch for me. Like when we were on holidays with the boys, I'd be like in the street. One of them would put a glove on. They'd take turns. They'd take their hands off. Their hands would be like almost broken, and they'd pass it on to the next guy. You know, it was like it was an obsession, just like CrossFit is really. You know.
Imagine if you made the 2011 CrossFit Games with your current skills. You'd probably make close to the podium because they also had a softball throw.
I know. I'm waiting for that to come back here. I'm waiting for something a little bit more functional. Even a med ball throw, you know. Didn't they have a med ball throw with a GHD machine as far as you could or something like that?
You might be all right. I can't remember that. Wait, being on a med... No, they might have, yeah.
It was like a wall ball throw or something like that.
Like a sit-up and just throw it as far as you could. Yeah, and then
throw it as far as you could. No, I'd feel like I'd be good at that. I can
do
a good throw in from the sideline at soccer.
Okay, let's go back to what you said about athletic in Monavale. And you said, were you at Monavale for a full year? And then was Sean like, mate, you're going competing, go down to Brookie?
He was tentative in putting me in the peak program, and he was like, after in the first year, he was like, I don't know if you should get in there yet. You've still got a few things that you need to sort of get in a row before you start to get into the peak program. And then soon enough, something happened. I don't know what happened, but then he was just like,
probably did a workout really fast.
something clicked maybe in my head. It could have been like I learned how to do muscle ups, or I learned or my lifting was getting like better in a shorter amount of time. And then he was like, dude, you got to go down to athletic at Brookvale. You're gonna sort of join the peak program and start to train for like 2 years time to go to regionals. Yeah. And I was like, fuck, that would be awesome, because I was thinking I was going to go to regionals like the first year, you know.
Did you?
I wanted to. I didn't want to sit back and watch other people do things that I knew that I could eventually do. You know what I mean? But went to Brookie. I think I remember my first session was at like 5 a.m, and back when peak was like buzzing.
All new people there then for you, yeah?
Yeah, all new people. Got there in the morning, and I was like, fuck, this is fucking crazy. I can't believe these people get here at this time and still train. And I was like...
And how packed is it?
Oh, packed. It's packed. It's like the busiest time. And I was just like super overwhelmed, but everyone was awesome. It was like, as soon as I entered it, it was like, this is what I want to do.
Did you connect with someone in particular straight away? Like, did you make friends right off the bat? No pun intended.
I'm not sure because I'm really close with Harry and Mitch and all the boys at the moment. I'm not sure how quickly I got with everyone at that time. I think I was still affiliated with Monavale, so it was like Darius, Ryan, all those guys, Hados, that were more prominent in my life at that time. So it was almost like a transition phase, and then it was almost like Darius was phased out, and then it was like I hung out with Harry and Mitch and all those guys. So it was almost sad to like leave that part of me behind me, because I loved hanging out with those dudes. Yeah. But at the same time, that's where the competition was, you know. And then we'd go back and forth between Monavale, and it was like awesome because you got to go there. You could do Olympic lifting with Sean. We did all of our like technical stuff on a Thursday or something like that for peak. And then we go to Brookie and we do all our other stuff, you know, and learn from Wall and Christian and all those kind of guys.
Yeah. Such a good setup, hey, doing it like that.
It was awesome. I wish we could go back to that. I wish we could go back to doing like ollie lifting on a Thursday with Sean. And that's really when we learned the most. Because as you know, like you learn the most from people who actually lived
Yeah.
that thing. You know, like we learn WODs from Wal because he's been to the games. We learn all that sort of stuff from Christian because he fucking master programmer. You know, it's
absolutely.
It's an amazing environment, I guess, to learn from.
So when did you compete for the first time outside of the gym? When was the first time you just, all right, let's do a comp?
D-Mark.
Oh, yeah,
Would have
Newcastle.
been Newcastle.
And how long have you done CrossFit for then?
About a year-ish.
And you went straight into an individual comp, right?
Straight into an individual comp. Yeah, I was shitting myself. It was fucking crazy. It was like
D-Mark.
it was like, I think I was in good condition at the time, and I was sort of just strong. So I was like muscling everything, and everything like sort of was just starting to come together. But I still remember getting my ass handed to me. Like I was like fucking firing out of a workout. There was like a chipper, and I was like ahead of, what's that guy's name?
Was Mitch Cinnamon doing it that year?
I don't think Mitch Cinnamon was. Ricky was. Ricky Garrard was.
Yeah.
What's that guy's name that is friends with like April Herring and all them?
Tommy Lenginal?
Nah. Blonde head dude.
CJ?
CJ Walker was doing it, and I remember
he's no good.
I was I was ahead of him in the chipper, and like I just looked to my left, and we just started these like power snatches, and he just started just like popping these power snatches out at like 60 kilos, and I'm like, fuck me, I've just burnt out. But it was a good learning curve. It was fun with all the boys. Like we stayed in a house. It was such a cool environment. Come to think of it, like that, honestly, it wasn't that long ago. It was like 2 years ago, really.
16.
Like
17.
No. It was
17 maybe.
Was it 17?
I don't know. Was I there?
And then we had BTS as our next comp.
Yeah. Did you do team there or individual again?
I did teams with I forgot who my partner was.
What, a guy from Athletic? Alessio.
But it was Andy. It was Andy. And I had to pull out after that because I had my thing in my back that we didn't know what it was yet.
Yeah.
But it was bugging me, and I couldn't, like, by third event or something, I couldn't tie my shoes properly, or I couldn't like bend over and do anything. So I had to pull out of that. But that was probably second competition with All Stars in between. We came second at All Stars. That was cool with Hados and stuff.
Who else was on your team?
You were there too.
I was on the team.
Who was in my team?
Definitely not me.
It was Hados, It was Amelia, Andy. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, there you
Is
go.
that?
Remember it. 6. You might miss another girl.
No, I got it.
Okay.
It's good.
Let's skip.
That was a good moment too. That was good.
Yeah.
Second
Who
place.
won it?
Who won
Was it
that?
CJ again?
No, you know who won it? Harriet Roberts won it. We actually asked her to be in our team for that comp, and she was like, "Oh."
Wait, was she at Active then? No.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. No, she had just come over to Athletic.
Okay.
And we were like, "Harriet, you want to do a comp with us?" And she's like, "Nah, I don't do other comps. I just do regionals." And I was like, and we were like, "Oh yeah, fair enough." Anyway, we rock up, and she's fucking there with her her active team.
Virgin active team. Oh, that's epic.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Okay, so let's jump back to the pain in your hip.
Yes.
So you just thought you had tight hips or something?
Yeah, well, I was working with a couple of physios, and it wasn't like there was nothing that like stood out, you know, besides for the lump in my hip, and it could have been really anything. It was giving me like night pain. Like at night, Amy would like roll over at like 2 a.m. I'd be sitting on like a mobility ball trying to like get into my hips, and like I was just getting like shooting pain down, like radiating down my leg. And I didn't think anything of it because it went and it came and it went and it came, and it was just like, it felt like an injury that I was just fixing, and then it would just come back randomly. And I sort of had it for about 1.5 years. So
and you just kept training through this?
Just kept training, yeah.
And you like just thought it was training related?
I think I had it at All Stars and at BTS. And then I had it in the lead up to the games when we didn't the regionals when we didn't go, when all the girls went individual, when Tash went individual, Dom went individual.
Yeah.
So in the lead up to all of that, I had like some pretty severe pain. But I could do everything, so I wasn't thinking anything of it. If I was just going to deal with pain, I was just going to take it. And I was taking like Voltarens and stuff to sort of just get the swelling down. I would take Proxen, like it's like an anti-inflammatory, and it would just go away. So I didn't think anything of it. Obviously, I'm an imbecile for doing that. But
wow,
it was almost like I was too hungry to make the games. I just wanted to ignore what was going on. You know what I mean?
Well, a lot of people that compete at that level have pains, right?
Yeah,
and you didn't know what was going on.
It wasn't anything like Mitchie was having back pain. Harry was having like knee pain and back pain. So I was just like, fuck, this is normal. You know what I mean?
Keep popping the Voltaren.
Yeah,
oh, wow.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, I think I've heard the story, but not from you. But tell me how did all this get unraveled and discovered?
So eventually I got to the point where I couldn't pick the barbell up without searing pain down my leg, right? Harry was getting an MRI that day, and he was like, dude, just go and get an MRI. And Nick from Balance was like, okay, now it's time to go and get an MRI. So was Rich.
So you were at the time seeing Nick Papastamas and Richard Chan.
So before them, I was just going to some random dudes that were physios, and I was getting it like acupunctured and needled and all this sort of stuff, just trying to get the swelling down, just get like, because it was an obvious lump. So I was like, fuck, obviously I've just got to needle it, and it's like just gonna sort of pop or like disperse. You know what I mean? And like after a couple of months with Nick and Rich, it was obvious that it wasn't getting better. So they were like, okay, refer him to an MRI. Went to get an MRI that day. Funnily enough, Ames and I went away that weekend. So I got my MRI. It was on my birthday. And then we went away that weekend, came back. We were driving back, and I was like, fuck yes, I get to find out what's wrong with my hip. I was like, fuck, they're just going to tell me my hip's torn.
You'll be on your way and be better.
I'm going to be going to like the doctor, get like hopefully get surgery, because I love surgeries, because I like going to the hospitals and that whole bit. It's weird, I know.
Actually?
Yeah,
wow.
It's weird. Yeah, I like going under. I like going under anesthetic. It's weird.
Wow.
But yeah, I was super excited just to figure it out. You know, like closure. You know? And then ended up, we were sitting at dinner that night, and I was just about to take my first bite of like this spaghetti bolognese that Amy's mum makes. And Nick called me, and he was like, hey, dude, we've got, is your wife around? And I was like, yeah, Amy's just here. He's like, okay, well, we've got a bit of a problem. I don't remember word for word what he said, but he said they've actually found something in your hip. And I was like, oh yeah, okay, they found something in my hip. Duh. And then he said, I've got like a neoplasm. And a neoplasm, I had no idea what it was at the time. It didn't sound good. It sounded like a little alien sort of thing. So I was like, fuck, what do you mean I've got a neoplasm? And I just like put my fork down, and I was like, okay, so like, is this bad? And he's like, yeah, it's not good. And I was like, fuck. And I was like sort of almost in tears at the time. And Amy was like, what the fuck's going on? Like, I got up, walked away.
And were you just thinking, because competitively you were upset, or did you kind of
at that point in time, I was like, fuck, I'm dead. You know what I mean? I was like, okay, I've got, I was almost immediately, I was like looking at what a neoplasm was on my phone, and I was like trying to justify everything. Like Dan was around, he was looking up things, like he was like, dude, it's fine. It's like a common thing that Olympic lifters get. Like there's this thing that Olympic lifters get when they lift too much or whatever. And I was like, oh, okay, well, fuck. But the whole night we were just shitting ourselves. So like, I went to the bedroom. I was just sitting there crying. I was like, fuck, I'm dead, you know, like
So for people who don't know, that they basically told you had cancer, right?
Yeah. So I didn't know for sure at the time that it was cancer, because he was like, a neoplasm could be just like some fucked up cells, I guess, you know, and that's what I took from it. I Google doctored like pretty much the next hour, just trying to figure out how I could even get out of this situation. And then basically Ames and I sort of had to knock ourselves out that night. We had to take like like temazepam and just chill for a second, and so that I could sleep, because I was like fucking panicking. I was like just in another world, you know. I wasn't coherent. I wasn't talking to her. I was just chilling. And then we woke up the next day, went to get a blood test. The doctor was like looking at the results, and he was like, "This is like bad." I was like, "Fuck, you're not like making anything better." He's like, "This is bad. Why didn't you tell me a year and a half ago?" I was like, "Mate, that's not fucking helping me. Like, you can't say that to someone." And I remember like crying all the way from the doctor. He was like, "Just go and get a blood test right now." Crying all the way from the doctor to the blood test, crying in the blood test, walking all the way back, crying, and then they were like, "Okay, you're going to go get a bone scan today. You're going to get a CAT scan today. You're going to get your lung scan today," all this sort of stuff. So we drove out to Homebush, got a bone scan. When we went into the bone scan place, I actually went into the bone scan. I was looking at the screen, and I couldn't see anything pop up, because it comes with like a line that comes down, and as it finds things, it illuminates it. Right, so I saw my hip illuminate, and I was like, okay, fuck yes. I was like stressed out the whole time that there was going to be something else coming through, and I was looking at Ames, and I was like, yeah, this is great. Like, it's just my hip, right? I was scared it was like I was riddled with it, and ended up Ames got asked to leave the room early. So while I was in the scan, the doctor and Amy and my dad were talking in another room. As I walked out, I heard them like murmuring to each other, and I was like, "Oh, okay, they're finding out the results." So I walked into the room, and Ames and Dad are standing there crying, and I'm like, "Fucking hell!" And this doctor was like, sort of just like, "This is really bad. Like we need to do something about it immediately." He thought it was like a bone cancer of some sort, or a muscular cancer. He's like, it's a pretty what's the word, aggressive. And I was like, fuck. At the time, when it's you don't cry, you don't do anything. You just like, by that time I had cried all my tears. It was like fucking over. So I was just, I guess, super strong at the time. And I was like, fuck, it's all right, guys. Don't worry about it. We just walked out. I think I made a joke as we walked out of the doctor's office, and Dad and Ames like started laughing, and it was like, okay, now it's like fucking survival mode, you know? And from that point on, it was just like, we were a team, you know what I mean? It was like fucking go to the CT scan, just get everything done, get it sorted, and that's that. So long story short, got all the scans, ended up getting my first biopsy, came back as a osteosarcoma, so which is like a bone cancer. But they weren't convinced, so I was like, okay. At the time, I was like, "Fuck, osteosarcoma. Okay, sounds like it's a pretty good thing." I don't know
After
why.
Googling,
but you think in your head, you're like, "Fuck, like if I find out what it is, it feels good for some reason, right?" So I was just happy that I found out what it was, and we were working towards fixing it. But then in hindsight, I found out that an osteosarcoma would have been terrible. It would have been like since then, I found out that 3 or 4 people that were diagnosed with it with the same thing at the time were already dead by the time I finished my treatment.
Yeah.
Right. So like, lucky I didn't know how bad that was at the time. And then they were like, "We're going to have to send you in for another biopsy." I was like, "All right, fuck, have another biopsy." We had this mad like corner hotel room, like I guess hospital room. And we were like, "Fuck, this is awesome. We get to stay here the night. We can like hang out, blah, blah, blah," because we were just taking everything as it came. Anyway, that was about a month later. And like that whole month was just like trying to find out. They were sending results over to wherever, like America, and trying to find out what the hell this thing was. And it came back as a Hodgkin's lymphoma, which was amazing. Like, great result. Felt like we won from the start, right? Then we went into the doctor, and he was like, "All right, so we found some cancer in your throat and in your chest." And I was like, "Okay, this is something you could have told me like a month ago, right?" And he was like, this is something that we've known the whole time. And so they were like, "This is a stage 3 or 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma, which isn't as bad as like a stage 3 or 4 breast cancer, right? So it had spread a little bit, and they were pretty confident that they could get it with some aggressive treatment because I was young, fit, whatever. So they put me straight on like a chemo program, and that was like 3 days on, 1 day off, 1 day on, and then I'd have 2 weeks off for 4 cycles, and that was like pretty brutal at the time. Still trained.
Did you still train through that?
Still trained, but I was taking a corticosteroid. It was called prednisone. It made me feel like fucking Superman. It was crazy. I was like in there Olympic lifting, and I wasn't like, my knees used to hurt. My shoulders used to hurt. My mobility was like insane at the time. It was crazy. And then, so like I was on this the whole time. Obviously I was sick, nauseous, all that sort of stuff. But modern medicine, like like all the anti-nausea medication, you can sort of work around it. Played with marijuana a little bit, just to make it sort of a bit more exciting for me. Then after chemo finished, they sort of told us that it was mostly gone, right? So it was like super went into a month of radiation just to make sure that it was out of the bone, because then there was like a hole the size of like an orange inside my pelvis, right? Which is still there, apparently. I don't know how I can do what I'm doing with a hole in my pelvis, but I guess it's not that functional, right? But yeah, and then I just had my my radiation. As soon as that finished, I was fucked. Like there was just like, that was it. My hips were locked up, my knees were screwed up, everything was done because I was sort of training on this false sense of security, and everything was lubricated at the time, and it felt really good, and then it just stopped, and I wasn't getting any of that anti-inflammatory sort of stuff, and then my body just shut down, and then we sort of had to go straight into games training. We had the Open. When's the Open? February, and I finished radiation on Christmas Day. So I had to I had to get my lungs back, sort of, because every time I would try and run, that's what affected me. So like if I tried to run 100 meters, I'd be gassed and my legs would blow up, and it was just like, I think Mick has the same sort of thing with his red blood cell count. It's like as soon as he starts to run, when his red blood cells are low, it just things just shut down.
There's nothing you can do really.
Yeah, so I had to just build that up for the Open. I was like semi-competitive at the Open. It was all right, and then from then on, we sort of like everything just snowballed. It was crazy. Like we started to train for the games, like started to train for regionals. I was fighting for my regional spot. It was like me, Presto, and Harry just fighting for a spot, and I ended up picking one. And that was like the best time of my life, like from the worst to the absolute pinnacle of my life.
And in less than 6-7 months, really, that changed so quickly.
It was fucking crazy. Yeah. It was nuts.
Hey, I have one more question about that whole time, because I remember you were quite open and transparent on Facebook. You were writing, like you had a blog. I guess you can call it a blog. Why did you choose to do that?
I honestly wouldn't have even known that I could even write words on paper. You know, I was like the worst student in the world. I was like, I feel like mentally I was going a bit crazy when we were going through treatment and stuff, through all the steroids going through my system. I was like in a very, very different headspace. And writing every day, I wasn't working. I wasn't like really doing anything that was of much, I guess, help to my brain. So writing it down sort of helped. And Amy was like, just write a diary. So I wrote a diary, and that blog was basically little segments from my diary. And people, I guess, liked it because it was just me writing my thoughts, you know, and it was real in some way that it was, I guess, vulnerable, and it showed like a little bit of, I guess, the real me, you know what I mean? It was exciting writing. Like it was nice to like tell people my feelings. It was nice to talk about baseball. It was nice to sort of air out all the deep seated issues in my brain as well. I don't think I'm anywhere near perfect in terms of mental health as well. So it was cool to air out what I was thinking at the time, and I'll probably continue to do it once I get my mind right again. But yeah, that was like the whole idea behind it, and I want to help people. Like that's the end goal. Like I'm honest enough, I'm open and honest enough to speak what I actually went through, and I hope that people can sort of come to me whenever they need to. I've had people come to me so far like a few times asking for advice about what I did when I was going through chemo, what my mindset was, all that sort of stuff. And eventually that's where I want to go with my career. I would rather go down that path than just the general coaching path. You know what I mean? I want to make a difference to people's lives.
Yeah, it's such a, I mean, it's an amazing story, but it's also, I think it's very helpful both for you and for other people when you journal things down, right? When you're going through all that stuff.
Yeah, massively.
Yeah.
Massively.
All right. Let's spin it around again. Back to CrossFit, I guess. Yeah. So you went to the games for the first time.
Yeah.
How's that when you're sitting on the flight over there? What, butterflies or
nuts?
What was it like?
Just crazy. Like I still can't believe it. Like I look, we didn't even really appreciate it as much as we needed to at the time, you know, because you're in such
that's impossible.
You're in such a dreamland. You're like, I can't even fathom this. You know what I mean? We looked like there was moments when the girls were even so excited to be there. Like Dom had been there a few times, but they just couldn't believe that we actually made it. Like we went into regionals thinking like, if we even do well, we're stoked. You know what I mean? So there was times when like, cramp. Oh, sorry. Okay. There's times when Harry and I, we would be walking around like Chicago and we'd look at each other and just be like, dude, this is fucking crazy. Like it was just the most surreal feeling. And then getting to the games, like being at the games and like being around those caliber of athletes was just super humbling, first of all. But it was like, it sort of made me feel like we belonged there. You know what I mean? Like we held our own. We like our result was just such a icing on the cake sort of thing. It was just incredible.
What was your favorite event over there that you guys did as a team?
Place wise, obviously the run swim run was cool to like come in second place and like just sort of dominate a little bit in that way. Probably the last event, the burpee thrust lunge event, because Harry and I were going into it and we were like, fuck dude, if there's any lunging or squatting or like anything that involves our knees, we are fucked. Like we were taking like Voltaren 50s to just get through like a day of the games, right? Because we were both suffering from like patella tendonitis. He had the top of his patella tendons was screwed up and the bottom of my patella tendons were screwed up, and we were both meant to be like the driving force behind this worm. And we were like, Dave Castro came out with his whiteboard and we were just like, fucking please don't let there be thrusters or burpees or anything. And he's like, all right, lunges. I'm like, fuck man. We couldn't even just air lunge without pain. Like this was like a real thing for us. And as he's reading out these things, the girls look over to us and we're just like, how the fuck are we gonna get through this? And then like I think we were on about half an hour later, and the fact that we didn't know what was coming, I think helped us a little bit. We screwed that event up at regionals. I had a very similar event that we thought we were going to dominate in, and we sort of like learnt from it in a good way. We sort of slowed everything down. We were just like, okay, we don't know how to attack this. Let's just slow it down. Let's do it.
And did you slow it down because at regional you got so many no reps?
Yes. We got no reps like 1,000 times at regionals, and we were just like, I can't do one more thruster than I have to. It was like basically we needed to do the minimum requirement and we needed to get through there alive, right? So from the start I was like, okay, Harry, I'll go on the front of the worm, and if I get tired, you're going to come to the front of the worm, okay? And I was like, okay, that's sick. I can like rest eventually. Anyway, we ended up going, like picking this worm up, starting to like lunge, get to the first bit. We're cruising through pretty good, and this fucking heat from the ground is like piercing your lungs, you know what I mean? And we're slowly like keeping up with people, you know, no reps whatsoever. A couple of like burpee no reps maybe, but it didn't really hurt on the burpees. They were like a rest at the time. And sort of halfway through, I was like, Harry, I need you at the front of the worm. I need you at the front. He's like, I can't, dude. I can't. I was like, all right, I got this. Anyway, stayed at the front of the worm. We end up like pretty much, I don't know where we ended up, but like middle of the pack, and we were like fucking so stoked with each other. Anyway, end of the workout, we're like lunging. I thought we were like one step away. So I'm about to go for one more lunge. These 3 guys behind me just drop the worm, break my fucking toe behind me. I'm pretty sure it's still broken. The worm lands on my toe, and the last footage we have of me at the games is like, just like, and Harriet runs into me, headbutts me, and I'm like, It's like the worst finish, but like the proudest I've ever been of anyone in my life. Like we were like so stoked with each other. Like it was the best finish to a games ever.
You seemed like such a connected team that year. You guys were pretty close, right?
Yeah.
Everyone went along really well, and you worked well together.
Crazy. Like we didn't fight. There was no, like you'd think you'd fight, but there was no like animosity amongst anyone. There was just like pure like happiness to be there. It was like it was really, really good. Yeah. Really good.
I think the footage from when you guys made it, when they announced you at the regionals, were like pretty cool.
That was intense. I couldn't even. We finished that event, and I was like, dudes, I can't even believe that this has happened. Yeah. It's like,
because you guys didn't know when you finished the last event, but then so you had to wait for the announcement.
Yeah, we had to wait. Yeah. In hindsight, I wish we came third because I really would like a medal, but I'm happy with going to the game.
CrossFit Games with 450 points. CrossFit Athletic.
And then we went and got drug tested for about 3 hours after that. So it just sapped all the energy out of us as well. So
you got to be glad about going to the games because it is a lot harder now.
Yeah.
Especially from Australia.
I'm very, very glad we got that in. Very, very glad.
Yeah. So what's the plan going ahead now? What's coming up?
Down Under CrossFit Championships with
back to Wollongong.
Back to Wollongong. Pretty excited about that. I remember my second year in CrossFit. That was the year that Tash and all them went individual. We were going to be at that regionals, and I remember being there and just seeing how fucking sick it was. I was like, man.
You're sitting in the stands just wanting to compete.
I remember taking photos of it, and I was like, I'm going to be here next year. Like, it was just insane. It was probably a bit better vibe than Kudos Arena, I'd say. I think it was more authentic. I think it was like...
It's a bit smaller, more... I agree. I mean, I'm biased. I loved Wollongong. I think it's such a cool stadium.
Yeah.
Sydney, Homebush, Olympic Park was cool too. It looked like the athletes probably had a better behind-the-scene experience. But really, Wynn Stadium is awesome.
You just like, I want that like fans on top of you kind of feeling, you know? That was like when I walked into that regionals, I was like, wow, that's fucking crazy. You know, you wanted to be on the floor. You wanted to be an athlete there. So I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully it's the same sort of vibe. You know, I'm thinking
they just need to be able to sell tickets, right?
Exactly.
Need a big crew
just
from
give
CFA.
Give them away for free.
Yeah, they should.
Don't worry about selling tickets.
Well, actually, the hardest part is finding somewhere to stay if you want to be down there all weekend.
Yeah.
Because it's a funny one for us here in Sydney because we live close-ish. You could live at home for free, but it's far to drive every day.
Yeah.
But then if you're going to go down there, by this point, it's so hard to find somewhere to stay at a reasonable rate.
Well, I think we stayed like half an hour away last time. It was...
Yeah, did you get a house?
It's an experience, you know, like it was cool. If you love CrossFit, if you love that sort of competition vibe, you'll go there and you'll spend 3 days there and it'll be fucking awesome regardless of whether you're competing or not.
Yeah. Frothing.
Yeah.
How you guys going to go?
Oh, mate. With the announcement of all the sort of super teams coming through, it's a little bit not disheartening, but it's like how you expected to compete with those kind of guys. But at the same time, like as you saw with us at the games, we were such a unified team. We were so like, we were in it for each other that it didn't matter. Like, I mean, I'm sure that some of those teams in the US were just as good as Rob Forte and James Newbury's team, you know, but we managed to be cohesive. We managed to like want to hurt for each other, and I'm still skeptical that a super team is even that much of an advantage. Like, of course it is in those like individual events where one person's going, the other person's going, but when it comes to like the worm and all that sort of stuff, then I think it's anyone's game, really.
Yeah, it depends a lot on the event, and I think the team events at the Gold Coast sanctionals, they were very. It helped to have a good team of individuals. But it looks like the Down Under events are a bit more team oriented. The worm is back. Yeah, you guys. Yeah. Yeah,
and as time goes on, like those individual guys are going to get awesome at doing team events. You know, like it's just a matter of time before they find that cohesion, and it's like pretty much game over for people who are affiliated. You know, I'd like to see CrossFit make a change. Like I don't think that they can't go back on their word. I'd like it to be that you have to be part of the same affiliate, you know, like there's no reason why it can't be that. I don't see what they've done for communities by taking that out of it. You know what I mean?
And only 16 teams to the games.
It's like how many individuals? Like
100 and gazillion, as many countries as there are.
Like I just feel like it's not having that whole the rule where you have to be from the same affiliate has taken away firstly from the quality of individual athletes that are going to be at these sanctionals, and it's taken away the community aspect of my gym is the 13th best gym in the world. You know what I mean? It's not. Yeah. It's gone almost the other way. It's like they're trying to make it not competitive, but they've made it even more competitive. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. It's changing right now in front of us, so we don't really know what's going to happen. Hey,
we could look back in 2 years and it's back to the same old thing. You know, they had a beautiful thing going. Like I had family come to the games. I had my wife come to the games. She's not even she's not an avid CrossFitter, or she's not really interested in the whole CrossFit scene. You know what I mean? Yeah. But she went to the games and she fell in love with the whole thing that they had going there. My parents talk about the games constantly. They're like, they would never fucking clue what CrossFit is before they went to the games. You know, now they think they're like, know everything. They're like, oh God, I wish I could go back to Madison. Like that was the best time of our lives. Like to this day that they sit at dinner and they're like, oh, Madison was the best time of my life. Yeah. And now it's
probably gone for at least for a while.
You know,
I mean, you guys could be, assuming Rob Fortin, James Newbury, Maddie Sturden, Caitlin wins the team, you guys could maybe be the highest placed pure affiliate team. Yeah,
hopefully.
That's
good. Our goal. You know, like fuck, I'm not going to be sore about it. You know, I still am super excited at the prospect of even competing against James Newbury. You know, even being on the floor with him or next to him. You know, I want to compete against him. It'd be fucking awesome. But it just, I don't know, just sort of takes a little bit away from it. Yeah. But it's cool. It's cool.
They're playing within the rules, right?
They are playing within the rules. I don't know what happens with them qualifying individually.
They ditch if they qualify the team.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rob can just ditch Maddie and James because they're competing individually. He can put in whoever he wants. So
see that
he just has to announce a reserve.
Like that. That itself is just
I don't think really CrossFit cares. They just want to have the best teams there.
No, and so they should. Like everyone can be complaining as much as they want about there not being fairness in the teams and all that, but in the end, you're going to get the absolute best teams on the floor at the games. You know what I mean? Like it's probably going to be more important to watch the teams events than to watch the individuals events.
It'll be more. It'll be exciting.
Yeah, it'll be fucking awesome.
Yeah. All right, Alessio, let's round it off.
Cool.
Final flurry of questions. So no, that was mad. That was sick. That was really good. Bit, I guess, shorter and more lighthearted questions.
Yes.
What do you listen to in your car?
Used to be like R&B rap. Now it's like more. I'm a bit late to the train, but like more Rufus-y style stuff, like electronic music, maybe sometimes stonery kind of music, like
loud, or do you crank it up?
I don't actually have a radio in my car at the moment because I'm too lazy to go get it fixed. So I normally bring my like UE boom or something in the car and just play that. But I used to be a loud music kind of guy, like just blare it and just like drive past people and think I was the coolest person ever. But now I'm just a bit more reserved.
Wow. What's your favorite time of the day, and why is that your favorite time?
Favorite time of the day would be probably after coaching at night, getting home to Ames, chilling, hanging out together, watching shows and stuff.
Eating dinner.
That'd probably be the most relaxed part of the day for sure.
What are you guys watching?
At the moment, what's that fucking show called? Peaky Blinders.
Oh, yeah.
We're a bit late to that party as well. But
Sean and Tash love that show.
dude, it's so good. So I want to be a gangster in those times.
You want to dress like that?
Yeah. Can hide my bald head.
Yeah, you can wear that cool
little cap
they wear. Yeah. All right, lastly, what does CFA mean to you?
That's a tough one. Lots of things. It sort of ignited a flame that I needed to be ignited in terms of my professional sporting career. I've pretty much met what are now most of my best mates, you know, like girls and guys. I never expected to be friends with so many girls back in the day, you know, when you're younger and you're like, girls were just sort of an item for guys to look at, and it was like I would like go and flirt with girls, but all of these girls are so freaking cool that it's like I've got friends that are girls now, and it's like probably like the best thing for me is that I can walk in there and I can see every single person and talk to them and have a conversation with them, and I don't care who it is, you know. It's like everyone wants to speak to everyone, you know, whether you're 50 years old or whether you're 12 years old, like everyone's a part of it, you know what I mean?
Everyone's just frothing on the workout. Yeah,
everyone's part of like this bigger thing, you know. It's unspoken too, like you don't really talk about it, and it's such an awesome binding thing that we can all hurt together, you know, and we like it for some fucking stupid reason. But
and when you're in the gym, right, we have something in something in common.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on, Alessio.
Thank you.
Hopefully we can do something similar again.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, mate.